Why, hello there. Have you heard the good news? I know. Are you familiar with L. Ron Hubbard's work? No? Do you have something that you might be personally struggling with right now? Like a stutter, or dyslexia, or the difficulty to navigate social situations by chance? Yes, all of the above. I think Scientology might be a good fit for you. Do you happen to have social anxiety? Yeah, do you tend to struggle with your identity? Yeah, do you happen to need kind of like a in-depth, sort of really deep fix to your brain? Yeah? Okay. Well, can I get your first name, please? Okay, excellent. Very much a pleasure to meet you. And your last name, please? Okay, good. And what's a good email address that we can use to contact you? And by way, I mean, how can I contact you? Just in case your results are something that we can specifically work with. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay. And how old are you? Okay. And what is your gender? Okay. And what country do you permanently reside in? Okay. And what is your postal code? Okay. And a great phone number that we can use to contact you about your extended warranty. Okay. Okay. Would you like to be emailed about your personality test results? Okay. Would you like to be contacted by phone about your personality test results? Okay. And would you like more information about Scientology? Yeah, you would? You had something kind of brushed on your face. Okay. Perfect. Well, the thing is that 3 out of 4 of them are non-negotiables. We have to use your phone number and email address. And you have to agree to the privacy policy of this organization. So let's start your personality test, okay? Do you make thoughtless remarks or accusations which you later regret? Yes, maybe, or no? Yes? Okay. When others are getting rattled, do you remain fairly composed? No? Okay. Do you browse through railway timetables, directories, or dictionaries just for pleasure? Yes? Okay. When asked to make a decision, would you be swayed by your like or dislike of the personality involved? Interesting. Do you intend 2 or less children in your family even though your health and income will permit more? So you only want 2 children or more, regardless of what your situation is. Okay. Do you get occasional twitches of your muscles when there is no logical reason for it? Fascinating. Would you prefer to be in a position where you did not have the responsibilities of making decisions? Interesting. Are your actions considered unpredictable by other people? Do you consider more money should be spent on Social Security? Do other people interest you very much? Is your voice monotonous rather than varied in pitch? Do you normally let the other person start the conversation? Are you readily interested in other people's conversations? Would the idea of inflicting pain on game, small animals, or fish prevent you from hunting or fishing? Are you often impulsive in your behavior? Do you speak slowly? Are you usually concerned about the need to protect your health? Does an unexpected action cause your muscles to twitch? Are you normally considerate in your demands on your employees, relatives, or pupils? Do you consider that you could give a valid snap judgment? Do your past failures still worry you? Do you find yourself being extra active for periods lasting several days? Do you resent the efforts of others to tell you what to do? Is it normally hard for you to own up and take the blame? Do you have a small circle of close friends rather than a large number of friend-speaking acquaintances? Is your life a constant struggle for survival? Do you often sing or whistle just for the fun of it? Are you considered warm-hearted by your friends? Would you rather give orders than take them? Do you enjoy telling people the latest scandals about your associates? Could you agree to strict discipline? Would the idea of making a complete new start cause you much concern? Do you make efforts to get others to laugh or smile? Do you find it easy to express your emotions? Do you refrain from complaining when the other person is late for an appointment? Are you sometimes considered by others a spoil sport? Do you consider there are other people who are definitely unfriendly toward you and work against you? Would you admit you were wrong just to keep the peace? Do you have only a few people of whom you are really fond of? Are you rarely happy unless you have a special reason? Do you circulate around at a social gathering? Do you take reasonable precaution to prevent accidents? Does the idea of talking in front of people make you nervous? If you saw an article in a shop obviously mistakenly marked lower than its correct price, would you try to get it at that price? Do you often feel that people are looking at you or talking about you behind your back? Are you always getting into trouble? Have you any particular hate or fear? Do you prefer to be an onlooker rather than participate in any active sport? Do you find it easy to be impartial? Have you a definite set standard of courteous behavior in front of other members of your family? Can you start the ball rolling at a social gathering? Would you buy on credit with the hope that you can keep up the payments? Do you get an after reaction when something unexpected such as an accident or other disturbing incident takes place? Do you consider the good of all concerned rather than your own personal advantages? When hearing a lecturer, do you sometimes experience the idea that the speaker is referring entirely to you? Does external noise rarely affect your concentration? Are you usually up to date on everyday affairs? Can you confidently plan and work towards carrying out an event in 6 months' time? Do you consider the modern prisons without bar system doomed to failure? Do you tend to be careless? Do you ever get a dreamlike feeling toward life when it all seems unreal? Do you speedily recover from the effects of bad news? When you criticize, do you at the same time try to encourage? Are you normally considered cold? Are your opinions insufficiently important to tell other people? Are you so self-assured that it sometimes annoys others? Do you keep close contact on articles of yours which you have loaned to friends? Do you enjoy activities of your own choosing? Does emotional music have quite an effect on you? Do you completely condemn a person because he is a rival or opponent in some aspect of your relations with him? Do you often sit and think about death, sickness, pain, and sorrow? Are you perturbed at the idea of loss of dignity? Are you always collecting things which might be useful? Would you criticize faults and point out the bad points in someone else's character or handiwork? Are you openly appreciative of beautiful things? Do you sometimes give away articles which, strictly speaking, do not belong to you? Do you greet people effusively? Do you often ponder on previous misfortunes? Are you sometimes considered forceful in your actions or opinions? Do you accept criticism easily and without resentment? Are you usually undisturbed by noises off when you are trying to rest? Are you likely to be jealous? Do you tend to put off doing things and then discover it is too late? Do you prefer to abide by the wishes of others rather than seek to have your own way? Do you find it easy to get yourself started on a project? Do you bite your fingernails or chew the end of your pencil? Do you turn up the volume of your emotions just to create an effect? If we were invading another country, would you feel sympathetic towards conscientious objectors in this country? Are there some things about yourself on which you are touchy? Do you have few interests and activities that are your own choice? Do you ever get a single thought which hangs around for days? Are you a slow eater? Can you be a stabilizing influence when others get panicky? Would you stop and find out whether a person needed help even though they had not directly asked you for it? Are you prejudiced in favor of your own school, college, club, or team, etc.? Do you pay your debts and keep your promises when if possible? Do you sleep well? Would you use corporal punishment on a child aged 10 if it refused to obey you? Do you prefer to take a passive role in any club or organization to which you belong? Are you logical and scientific in your thinking? Does the youth of today have more opportunity than that of a generation ago? Do you throw things away only to discover that you need them later? Would you give up easily on a given course if it were causing you a considerable amount of inconvenience? Do you wax enthusiastic about only a few subjects? Do you rarely suspect the actions of others? Do you sometimes wonder if anyone really cares about you? Do you turn down responsibility because you doubt your fitness to cope? Do you sometimes feel compelled to repeat some interesting items or tidbits? Do you tend to exaggerate a justifiable grievance? Is your facial expression varied rather than set? Do you usually need to justify or back up an opinion once started? Do you openly and sincerely admire beauty in other people? Would it take a definite sort of on your part? Oh, permit me one moment. Would it take a definite effort on your part to consider the subject of self-harm? Would you consider yourself energetic in your attitude toward life? Would a disagreement affect your general relationship with another person? Does a man or failure on your part rarely trouble you? Do you sometimes feel that you talk too much? Do you smile much? Are you easily pleased? When you met with direct opposition, would you still seek to have your own way rather than give in? Provide the distance were not too great, would you still prefer to ride rather than walk? Do you ever get disturbed by the noise of the wind or a house settling down? Is your opinion influenced by looking at things from the standpoint of your experience as occupation or training? Do you often make tactless blunders? Are you suspicious of people who ask to borrow money from you? Are your decisions swayed by personal interests? Can you get quite enthusiastic over some simple little thing? Do you frequently take action even though you know your own good judgment would indicate otherwise? Are you in favor of color bar and class distinction? Are you aware of any habitual physical mannerisms such as pulling your hair, nose, ears, or such like? Can you quickly adapt and make use of new conditions and situations even though they may be difficult? Do some noises set your teeth on edge? Can you see the other fellow's point of view when you wish to? Do you go to bed when you want to rather than by the clock? Do the petty foibles of others make you impatient? Do children irritate you? Are you less talkative than your associates? Do you usually carry out assignments promptly and systematically? Would you assist a fellow traveler rather than leave it to the officials? When voting, do you vote the same party ticket straight rather than studying the candidates and issues? Do you frequently dwell on your past illnesses or painful experiences? Do you get very ill at ease in disordered surroundings? Do you usually criticize a film or show that you see or a book that you read? When recounting some amusing incident, that you can easily imitate the mannerisms or the dialect in the original incident. In subjects about which you are not an expert, are your own ideas of sufficient importance as to tell others? Do you have a tendency to tidy up a disorder of somebody else's household? Can you accept defeat easily without the necessity of swallowing your disappointment? Do you often feel depressed? Are you ever ill at ease in the company of children? Do you get frustrated at not being able to do something rather than finding a substitute activity or system? Are you sometimes completely unable to enter the spirit of things? Do you rarely express your grievances? Do you work in spurts, being relatively inactive and then furiously active for a day or two? Does the number of incomplete jobs you have on hand bother you? Do people enjoy being in your company? Could you allow someone to finish those final 2 words in a crossword puzzle without interfering? Do you consider the best points of most people and only rarely speak slightingly of them? Interesting. Do you laugh or smile quite readily? Are you definite and emphatic in voice and manner? Good. Are you effusive only to close friends, if at all? Good. Are your interests in fields of knowledge so important as to give little time for anything else? Good. Would you like to start a new activity in the area in which you live? Good. Would you take the necessary actions to kill an animal in order to put it out of pain? Good. Is it easy for you to relax? Good. Do you have little regret on past misfortunes and failures? Good. Does the idea of fear or apprehension give you a physical reaction? Good. Can you trust the decision of your judgment in an emotional situation in which you are involved? Good. Could someone else consider that you are really active? Good. Do you find it hard to get started on a task that needs to be done? Good. Are you opposed to the probation system for criminals? Good. Do you spend much time on needless worries? Good. In a disagreement, do you find it hard to understand how the other person feels to see your side and thus agree with you? Good. Do you cope with everyday problems of living quite well? Good. Are you usually truthful to others? Good. Would you rather wait for something to happen as opposed to you trying to cause it? Good. Do you spend too freely in relation to your income? Okay. Can you take a calculated risk without too much worry? Okay. If you were involved in a slight car accident, would you really take the trouble to see that any damage you did was made good? Okay. Do others push you around? Do you make allowances for your friends with others you might judge more severely? Do you often ponder over your own inferiority? Good. Do people criticize you to others? Are you embarrassed by a hearty greeting such as a kiss, hug, or pat on the back if done in public? Do you frequently not do something you want to do because of other people's desires? Are you not sometimes convinced of the correctness of your opinions about a subject even though you are not an expert? Do you often find yourself going off in all directions at once? Do your acquaintances seem to think more of your abilities than you do? Is the idea of death or even reminders of death abhorrent to you? Having settled an argument out, do you continue to feel disgruntled for a while? Are you friendly in voice, attitude, and expression? Does life seem rather vague and unreal to you? Do you often feel upset about the fate of war victims and political refugees? Do your mere acquaintances appeal to you for aid or advice in their personal difficulties? If you lose an article, do you get the idea that someone must have stolen or mislaid it? If you thought that someone was suspicious of you and your actions, would you tackle them on the subject rather than leaving them to work it out? Interesting. Do you sometimes feel that your age is against you, whether too young or too old? Interesting. Do you have spells of being sad and depressed for no apparent reason? Do you do much grumbling about conditions you have to face in life? Do you tend to hide your feelings? Do you consider you have many warm friends? Oh, interesting. Here, I'm going to leave a little bit of my information here for you to take. And I want you to just keep it in mind going forward. Okay? Here's my phone number. Please don't hesitate to call me. The Church of Scientology would love to have someone like you. Especially someone like me. I would love to have someone like you in the Church of Scientology. So please don't hesitate to call me, and we will email you and call you with your personality test results. And if you were to come to our offices, I can continue this exam and see where exactly your mind is. Okay? Good. Well, I hope that you take care. Bye-bye. Why, hello there. My name is Angelica. It is a pleasure to meet you. I see that you've already completed your personality exam with the other Angelica present in this organization, and now you are seeking for your first auditing experience. Yes. Well, okay. Let's make things very clear. This is not going to be anything as the public tries to depict it. This is not us trying to collect information on you to try and sell it off or use it against you. Think of it more of a process where we bring out the true you from you, where we try to highlight all of your best attributes, where we bring out the real you, the best version of you, the greatest good of you, and eliminate all of that which is not you and which also seems to be negative characteristics implanted into your mind from beings that might not be reflective of who you actually are, if that makes sense. Listen, if you ever have any questions, have they given you your copy of L. Ron Hubbard's Dianetics? I would highly recommend you study this. It is going to be an excellent read for you to really absorb what the human condition reflects and might actually mean. But in the meantime, I'll leave that there for you. Let's start your first auditing experience. We're going to be using a little thing called the e-meter. This is something that only the organization of Scientology uses and produces. This is a little device that we use to balance out the positive elements within you and to gauge how much negativity is within your body. What we're looking for is a floating needle. This is the state in which we know that you are most comfortable and positive with yourself and with the audit. This is where we try to really balance you out. It's a very focused form of our interaction. This information that you're going to share with me is going to be very much valued, respected, and treated like a very in-depth process. It's going to be something that is going to deepen your relationship with the organization and deepen your relationship with yourself and those around you. So, what I'm going to need you to do for me is I'm going to need you to just hold on to these cans, these metal readers right here. I need you to just put your hands here and just hold on to them, okay? Hold on quite firmly to the rods, and as you hold on firmly to those, I will be checking the gauge and also writing down your responses and anything that I observe from this exam, okay? So I'm about to reset the e-meter according to your physical presence. Okay, good. Perfect. Okay. Now, I'm going to be asking you some questions, and I will be jotting it down in this little notebook of mine, okay? So first things first, the first question I'm going to ask you is, is there a trait of inconvenience that perturbs you throughout the week on a consistent basis? Otherwise phrased as, is there something that bothers you from week to week from those around you? Okay, these are just some opening questions. This is just to establish a level of openness and intimacy. Okay, I'm going to note that. Good. I'm going to check the e-meter. Okay. The next question is, do you happen to have some level of discomfort with yourself from a day-to-day basis? Okay, I'm going to note that down too. Okay, good. And now for the next question. Is there anything that you are withholding from me right now? Any information that you're withholding from me right now? Is there any information that you are withholding from the public and from yourself? Okay. I'm going to adjust the e-meter now. We're going to get a little more personal and in-depth. Okay, keep a nice firm hold on the meters. When it comes to this information, you can keep it as vague as you'd like right now. But is this information something that could present harm to yourself or others? This is an entirely safe space. The intent and purpose of this audit is just to see what negative qualities might be possessing your good and virtuous person, your energy, your being, if you will. Authentically and truly, what negative energies possess you. You can share them freely with us. We will not be reporting them to any officials. We will note it down, and it'll deepen your relationship with others and yourself. Okay. Do you have constant thoughts about this information, or is this something that just kind of crosses your mind, more akin to an intrusive thought? Okay. And when it comes to this thought of yours, have you given much consideration about executing this thought? Taking action to it? Okay. Would you say you often feel guilt over your actions? Okay. And how persistent would you say this feeling of guilt is within you? Okay. I'm just going to adjust the E-meter. Okay. Very well. Is there any information that you are withholding from me as of this point? Okay. That question is not very important right now. We're staying on task with the focus in mind of just deepening your relationship with yourself and others. Sometimes one asks questions to try and create a barrier of intimacy between yourself and others, a sort of cautionary tactic, but that's going to be very unnecessary in this organization. We are all one and the same. We are all one positive, flowing organism, and the goal is for you to realize who you truly are. Do you happen to have premonitions or dreams that seem like they were almost from a different life? Things that are highly detailed and almost feel too real to be true, or too real that actually makes reality feel less real. Okay. And what would you say are some of the themes present in these dreams? Are they sort of a practical day-to-day routine but in a different altered state, or are they a little more fantastic in environment, such as something where you are sailing on a boat or inhabiting a different planet, a different species, a member of a different species? Okay. And would you relate positive or negative feelings in association with these dreams? They feel confusing. Okay. I wouldn't necessarily ascribe a negative or positive value to confusion. I would merely state that it's a window of opportunity. I'm now going to be adjusting your E-meter as we deepen this auditing. This auditing session can take as long or as short as your conscious determines, as your being determines. It really is just completely dependent on your progress. Once the floating needle dictates that you've completed this audit to a satisfactory degree, then we can end the session. You can tell me how you felt afterwards. Okay? Once again, you are in a very trustworthy environment. But in order to take full benefit from this audit, 100% of your trust is required. Okay. So, once again, I ask, are you withholding any information from me right now? Okay. What would you say are some uncomfortable truths that you're too disturbed to admit to yourself? Would you say that these feelings or that these intrusive thoughts sometimes weigh you down? It's almost like a feeling of heaviness inside of you, questioning what you are, who you are, what all of these existential questions flowing from your panicked mind. Okay. Would you associate positive or negative feelings to these thoughts? Do you think you could achieve some level of catharsis that might turn these negative feelings positive if you were to enact these actions? Or does the idea of even enacting them cause you fear? Do you fear the implication of who you are if you were to commit these actions, or do you fear the consequences these actions might take on someone else? Do you feel like there's some actions, although seemingly negative, that are necessary to take for positive consequences overall? You're coming along quite nicely, and I do appreciate how honest and transparent you're being right now. Your cooperation is not at all going to waste. You might find that this organization provides the most understanding environment, and you will find that the answers within Scientology will bring you peace and bring answers to every question that has ever crossed your mind. What if I were to tell you that these negative thoughts are only a psychic attack from beings that are perhaps not from this terrestrial realm, and that who you are is just a pure being of light, being tormented by creatures not of this world, jealous of your existence? I'm going to adjust the E-meter a bit. We're coming to our last round of questions. The floating needle seems to be gearing towards positive favor. It seems to be completing a very satisfactory degree of competency and completion with you. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit just so that way we can have a more balanced reading. Now, I ask you, what are your feelings towards L. Ron Hubbard? What are your feelings towards the organization of Scientology? What are your feelings towards organized religion? What are your feelings towards the psychiatric institution? What are your feelings towards the virtue of humanity? ask you again, what are your feelings towards L. Ron Hubbard? Are you withholding any information from me? Do you have sincere and genuine interest in joining the organization of Scientology? Are you ready to accept the organization of Scientology with full transparency, trust, and openness? Are you ready to undergo a transformative process, no matter how difficult it may initially appear, to find a deeper understanding, truth, and relationship with yourself and others within the organization? Are you withholding information from yourself or me? Are you ready to undergo weekly auditing processes, if not more than weekly auditing processes? Okay. Excellent. We've received all of our answers. How do you feel now that you've experienced your first auditing process? Lighter. Very nice. That's exactly the feeling that we're aiming for, is just lifting your being up from the negativity of this illusory world that we live in. We love to hear how impactful this process is for those who undergo it, despite all of the negative criticism and ignorance that surrounds the organization. We know that there are beings who want to just return to a sense of home. Now, our auditing process has completed. You may feel free to return. We do have your information. We will be reaching out to you, and you can always reach out to us, and we can start establishing a more trustworthy and deeper relationship between yourself and the organization going forward. How does that sound? Perfect. I love to hear it. Well, in that case, I do hope that you have a most profound and revelatory day. And I hope that you truly find what you're seeking